Hi, welcome to
Critically acclaimed Pulitzer Prize winner
Winner.
Lark.
You guys practice this. If you're gonna do it right.
Hold on.
Critically acclaimed Pulitzer Prize
Winning.
winning band. Okay, I'm on.
Okay, try again.
All right, listen.
Critically
Welcome to
acclaimed.
Lark.
Critically acclaimed Pulitzer Prize.
All right, either you guys are fired or I'm fired. Just pick.
This is ours now.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Today on the LARKAST, episode 5.
I thought.
Five.
I think that's right.
I think it's episode 5.
Yeah.
We have another special guest. Do you want to introduce yourself, or do you want somebody on the couch to introduce you?
Somebody on the couch introduced me.
This is Ina Karsheva Tillman.
Oh.
Some of you know my name. My last name is Tillman. She's my wife.
Are you my husband?
Some would say she's my wife.
I made a terrible mistake.
That's really dark.
It's too late now.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Ina, say something.
Did my
Hello.
mic go out?
Yeah, okay, you're good. Okay. So that I am happy to have Ina on here because most people probably won't know. She's a musician. She's a violinist. She's a music teacher. She has her master's in
Yes. In violin performance.
performance, right? So she's done the work. You know, she's got a similar perspective to Garrett and I, but also kind of different also, which is nice. That's the cool thing about music, is that it's kind of crazy. You get like a snapshot from one person, and then if you talk to somebody from a completely different genre of not even just of music, of like performance, or if they're a studio musician as opposed to like a live musician, they'll have like a totally different outlook on absolutely everything, which I think is really interesting. So I was excited to have Ina on because of that. Also, because the thing that we're talking about, I'm excited about it because...
This is what he made me talk about.
Yeah.
I did not want to talk about this, so we'll see if this even makes it past tonight.
I don't
Yeah.
even
Yeah,
know
who
what
knows?
we're talking
Who
about.
knows? Episode 5 might just be like me and one of my dogs sitting on a couch. Me going, "Are you a good boy?" No.
Of
The
course
answer is
it's
no. Jeez. I'm sorry. I'm triggered. So we are in this group text. It was me and Garrett, and it was either Lark or some version of Lark, and I posted a video that was Jacob Collier and Daniel Caesar, and Garrett's reaction was so Garrett. I didn't expect him to say it, but it was so Garrett, and it made me laugh. But it got me thinking about that every musician has a really unique relationship with an audience. Now, when I say audience, I don't mean fans. Let's make that clear. Anybody who says anything like, "I couldn't be here without my fans," blah, blah, blah. I know that sounds like lame and like they're supposed to say it. More than likely they mean it, right? Like, because the truth is, like, yeah, we don't have careers if nobody likes what we're doing. You know what I mean? So when I say audience, I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about like people that are there in front of you to see you play right that second. And it's interesting because, you know, depending on like what I said earlier, depending on what genre you're in, there's like depending on what venue you're at, there's norms depending on, you know, like what the situation is, but there's norms that are kind of like do's and don'ts that an audience might kind of feel the pressure from. Like, for example, and this is one I think most people know, in like classical music, or if you go see somebody do like a recital, right? It's really, you're a big old lame-o if you clap in between like movements, right?
Oh yeah, that has been a really big thing for a really long time now, and yeah, it's considered almost kind of rude, and a lot of people will turn around and look at those people who are clapping and like, "Ugh, just learn
Yeah,
the
be like,
movements
"No, no, 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 no,
already.
stop."
Yeah,
Right.
you can't clap between the first and the second movement of a symphony." But here, I actually have the argument, and I've talked with a lot of other people, and while I was in school doing my master's, I've had a lot of conversations with people in class and with people outside of the university, but that really doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's like an interesting thing. I don't actually know where it came from, but the first time somebody did it, I was just like, oh, I just like accepted it. Like somebody was like, no, don't do that. Showing your appreciation is disrespectful at this.
Yeah,
moment.
that's what I always thought was weird. Is like you can't like if you feel hype about something and you want to express it and show them like
Yeah.
I really dug that. Why is that not cool
Yeah,
to do?
That's
Well-
But
lame.
I understand that that's like supposed to I don't know.
I-
Supposed to have that space to.
Is it? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Is it like a creative thing? Like you're trying to make the performer not like break? You know what I mean? It's
Well,
like a mentality
some people think
I
of
could see
it
that.
as distracting. For example, if it's a violin concerto for solo violin and orchestra, some people think that if you start clapping a lot between the first and the second movement, the soloists might get really distracted. And
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. Is it the audience or is it like the performer? It makes sense if it's the performer. Like I get that. But if it's just like, if it just makes somebody mad next to you because you're having a good time, like that's really lame. But that's what's funny is I heard it was like I can't remember where I heard it, but it was Chris Thiele was talking about he went and saw something, right? And it was like an orchestral kind of thing, and they were playing some like really intense piece of music, and he like felt so overwhelmed that he like erupted and was like, yeah, something like that, and everybody around him was really angry, and he was remarking that he wonders if it was that way a long time ago, or if a long time ago when that music was like the thing, if more people were just like woo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
oh yeah, back in the day, this was not.
Yeah. So when did that switch happen then? When did that come? Why
Well,
it was like
okay.
so proper to
Well,
like
I'm
not.
thinking now. I'm going
excited
back
about
all the way back in like court performances. In France, for example, when they had these huge parties
Gotcha.
for whatever king in
Yeah.
his palace or whatever place, and in the court, and they actually were able to, according to information that we have from that time, they were able to express their feelings during the performance. People were clapping, people were laughing. I'm even thinking about Shakespeare now, that I've read information about when plays by Shakespeare and other writers from that time period were presenting their plays for first time. People would just express how they feel immediately. If they liked something or if they didn't like something, it was immediately.
Do you remember when Sean Jones came to UT?
Is that the trumpet player?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure he's from New Orleans. Or maybe he's not. Maybe he just like is kind of
I
associated
don't know if I was
with
there
that
for
area.
that. That might have been after my time. Although, I don't know. I don't remember.
The only
Anyway.
thing I know, I mean, I didn't even go to UT, but the only thing I remember about that is that when I went and saw him play, it was him and Donald and somebody else, probably Keith and probably Kenneth. You know what I mean? It was like the people in Knoxville. I remember that he was super vocal on stage, and he was he was on stage like sitting this far away from whoever was taking a solo, and he was just like, yeah man, like it, but it left a really big impression on me because I was like, yeah, like why not? You know what I mean? Like not to be like distracted. It seemed very genuine. You know what I mean?
Right. That's the only way
Yeah.
that doesn't bother me.
Right.
But
Okay. I wasn't trying to.
I figured
get
that this
here.
is the segue.
No,
into
it
the-
wasn't. It actually wasn't meant to be. It actually wasn't
Yeah.
meant to be. But the end of that story is I have since then given myself the permission to react that way to like other musicians. And since being in this town, like that show that I saw last night, there were times when I was, I would just like react to something verbally and it was loud and whatever, and there were people next to me that were like, like every single time I said something. I mean, of course I didn't stop because like I don't even care about them. But like it was just something. Okay.
Were they young people that looked over at you?
No, they
When
were
I say
older.
young,
They
I
were
mean,
older.
like-
They were older than me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they were most of the people there were probably like late 30s and up.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so in this text thread that I swear to you, this wasn't even a segue.
I'm still not totally on board with this podcast,
No,
but we'll see.
It's an interesting topic. I'm not just trying to I'm not gonna like tell it exactly how it happened because everybody knows that when you're in a text thread, you're like things are skewed because one, it's texting.
Yeah.
But then also, but then also it's like the context is the exact group of people that are in the text. So it's very, it would be taken sorely out of context if I was just going to blurt it out, which I'm not going to. But the video that I sent had a lot. There was a lot of people in the crowd that were like saying things and like screaming and like things like that. And I think most of the time in that video, it made sense for those people to do that. Like I felt like they were legitimately reacting. There were definitely times in the video where somebody was saying something when it was quiet or something like that, or being like, "Yeah, man," just to like be like, "I understand that." It felt like they were trying to get something out of the reaction that they were having, which is interesting. And Garrett said something to the effect of like, "I hate when crowds do that," or like, "I hate when audiences are cringy like that."
I think what I said in the text was.
I wasn't even.
I think I summed it.
I just want you to know.
Okay,
wanna
I
make
just
sure
want
it's
to say that
correct.
I'm lost. I was not
So,
in that
yeah,
text. I have no idea what's happening.
We'll clue you in a second.
Yeah, it all makes sense in a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Let me check I just want to make sure. I believe what I said
I'm
was
gonna have another sip.
I hate all crowds.
yeah. I wasn't gonna. That you definitely said something like that. I wasn't exactly gonna say it.
I was like,
because there was a lot of context to what there's a lot of context to what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't actually mean that, but I thought it was funny, so I decided to say it.
But
Where was it?
I think that
Oh wait.
if I mean, to be honest, like I kind of get it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, like that's like I have my reasons behind it, which could be petty or not petty. I don't know.
Well, it doesn't matter.
But those are my reasons in that. But I summed it up because I know you guys, and I'm gonna say something shocking if I want to say something,
Yeah,
or group something together,
Yeah.
all into this
So,
one category.
You hate the
Yeah.
crowds that come to your gigs and pay money.
See,
and you-
see, that's the
So,
see.
well, then that's what I was trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Okay, it's obvious to me.
See, we prefaced it, or you prefaced it at the beginning of
I've
this,
s-
talking about fans differently than.
Here's what I did. I feel like I did a really good job of setting this up, and then you guys just drug it under the bus and through the mud. So
I was doing pretty good
anyway,
at first.
yeah, I it's an
Oh.
interesting.
Verbatim, what I said
Yeah.
was all crowds make me want to vomit.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to talk about though, because we've all performed on a lot of different stages. Most musicians have. That's not something that's unique to us.
Right.
But I feel like most musicians come away with, just like a couple, like, oh, it's this kind of crowd or it's this kind of crowd or it's this. But the funny
Right.
thing is, like, it sounds like we're generalizing, and it sounds like most musicians are. But the funny thing is, they're kind of not. Like, yeah, sometimes you're gonna get up on stage and pour your heart and you're gonna pour your heart out. I'm gonna re-say that. Sometimes you're gonna get up on stage and you're gonna pour your heart out, only to have somebody go like, "Play something I can dance to."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like play, fill in the blank. Insert any very well-known piece of music in.
But I think that's okay.
No, I think it's okay too. It's just funny to me that crowds are always like one of these four things. I think that's really funny. But I think like
At least in our experience.
yeah, at least in our experience. But so in the orchestral world, is it like that?
Well,
Or will you never know because they're not allowed to talk?
well, this is what I've always thought about, because being in school for a really long time and being classically trained for a really long time, I've had two main types of experience that I always found very different from each other. One was the type of performance where I had to play in front of a jury for either some sort of a competition or an audition or any type of performance that requires you to have a jury in front of you. And then the other one is when you are just performing a recital or a concert for audience that specifically came to support you and listen to you. These two performances have always been really, really different to me, because the jury is also its audience, but has always made me so nervous and scared out of my mind because they are there to sit and judge me. I mean, they're called judges.
Sure.
So just the word judge is just should be a different word. But they sit there to judge you, so you go with a completely different mindset performing for this type of people versus going and performing on your recital, even if it's
Do you think everybody does?
I feel like a lot of people will. I mean, they don't have to agree with me 100%, but they will relate. They will find a way how to relate to what I'm saying.
Well, because I feel like when I was in school and I majored in, like, part of my major was double bass, right? So I had to do like all that. Yeah, I mean it was cool. It part of my major was I had to like do the juries and like do
Right.
the solo pieces and play in orchestras and stuff like
Right.
that. And there was a part of that I genuinely enjoyed. But I gotta be honest, I didn't go into those situations thinking I'm about to perform differently. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you do that?
No, it was not
It's
about the
okay.
way how I'm gonna perform. I was always so aware of who the audience is, and even now, I'm always very aware
Mm-hmm.
of who the audience is. That's maybe just how my brain works, and sometimes it is in my way a lot because it'll make me very
So-
nervous and anxious.
So how do you pick up on like what the audience?
Well, just
is.
because
You
I
know
know
what I
I know I'm performing for a jury and I get more
Oh,
nervous
just like
because
between those two.
yeah,
I
yeah.
see what you mean.
But then if I have a recital that I'm putting together,
Yeah.
I know that all the people they came to see me, they came to support me, they came to see me. So it's a completely different type of performance.
I
I can be
gotcha.
so much more relaxed. I can play and enjoy what I'm doing and
Mhm.
really really have fun with what I'm doing.
When people say they have stage fright, is that what they're talking about? I never really had stage fright because my mom had me performing when I was like just a
Stage
And also
fright.
Josh is a robot.
It's
if you don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. You're not a real human.
plus I'm a
Stage
robot.
fright. It's a big thing.
I was made to perform. No,
I
but I
was
mean,
just learning to love.
yeah. I mean, when people say I have stage fright, do you think it has to do with their connection to the audience? You know what I mean? Like, are they afraid of? You know
It's.
what I mean?
I think it's different. I can talk for myself, because for me, I think yes, because I'm so aware all
Please
of the
speak
time.
for everybody.
I want to speak for the whole
just kidding.
human
No,
nation
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
and the people of Bulgaria. This
Right.
is where I am
Yes.
from, by the way. if
Please,
somebody
please
doesn't
speak
know.
for all of Bulgaria.
All the people in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
Quick sidebar. There's this really funny time we were at a party, and
oh no.
and Ina was talking to somebody.
I
and-
know all of
and-
his thoughts.
And
all
we
the time.
wait. What? Oh,
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
well, we've told this story many times, and
Anyway,
also she
keep
knows my
going.
thoughts.
All right, keep going.
Anyway,
Nobody wants to hear about how you're married.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
so anyway, yeah, she was talking to somebody, and we overheard this girl sitting on the couch across the way from us, and she goes, "My mom is a Spanish teacher, and that girl is from Mexico. I know it."
Talking about Ina?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Awesome.
It's so funny.
That's
It's like I
awesome.
can just tell.
Yeah. So what was I saying before that?
And we're like, "Sweetie, no.
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 That's funny.
No." Anyway,
Anyway.
Anyway. The reason I bring it up at all is I think that I have probably not done the work that I should have done as far as analyzing the relationship between like me as a performer and the audience. Except for like, you know, I enjoy performing and I kind of like feed off of it. So I understand like, okay, just through experience, just like, okay, if the energy does this in the room, like we should play this next or we should do this. So it's like I understand that and I understand like the performance aspect and like what things an audience are going to respond to and what things they're not going to respond to. But I think it's interesting, you know, the effect that an audience has on the performers is something that people don't really talk about, except for like this. You know what I mean? On a podcast. No. Like when we're just sitting around. Like,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many gigs that I've played. It's like, in the first two tunes, it's like, you know what? I'm playing well or I'm playing bad, but it doesn't matter because this audience doesn't care. And so then you resolve in that moment, my energy is not going to come from the audience for tonight. It's only going to come from in here. That is my mindset for the rest of the gig.
And I
it's
feel
fun.
like this is so much cooler than when we have the program for the classical concert.
What do you mean?
written out
Oh,
already.
yeah, I see
The
what you're
audience comes because they know that we're gonna be playing Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony
Right.
and whatever violin or
Yeah, it
cello
leaves no room
concerto.
for like reading.
Yeah,
crap.
so
Yeah,
we
yeah,
so
totally.
we know that we're gonna be doing this and this and this and this in this particular order, and we can improvise. We can't decide. The conductor is never going to decide in the middle of the concert. Okay, well, we're not gonna do this Tchaikovsky symphony now, everybody. Let's go and do Mahler one.
Right.
Like it's.
Wow, that would be nuts.
Can you imagine
Can
if
you
that
just
could
im-
actually?
that would
Oh,
be
this
so
would be
Yeah, just
so
like-
cool.
All right, everybody.
And the
pull
whole
out
orchestra-
chart number.
Yeah.
Not even
It's
chart.
like a-
Turning your hymnal to.
Well, that's the other thing. What if the orchestra knew all these
yeah,
symphonies from memory, and you can just go and just do it?
that'd be cool.
Well, I had this friend in school that I lived with for a while, and I thought it was the coolest approach to like classical music because it was very akin to like people in jazz at the time, especially when you're in school. Like when you go and study jazz or like commercial music, like most of the time you come out playing a couple of instruments, you come out knowing a lot, you come out knowing a ton of players, producers, singers, like you just know all these
Right.
names and whatever. And up until meeting him, I had never met a classical person who was like that. But he like had favorite conductors, like was in the chorale and wanted to learn that kind of singing, and he would like wanted to get together with people and they would play like, sonatas and junk for fun, and he just like really like lived classical music. And I thought like, man, if I was going to be into classical music, that's how I would want to be into it. It's just so it just makes more sense, rather than being like so many people that I played an orchestra with where they go like, oh man, I love that batch, I love that Beethoven, and I love that one we did that one year when I was in orchestra, but then they don't really know anything else about classical music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting. But yeah, that would be crazy. Do you think an audience would get up and walk out if they showed up to an orchestral concert and they played like a totally different?
Not today, but that happened.
What about tomorrow?
And the next day.
Maybe
What about-
tomorrow and the next day
Yeah, okay.
and the next day.
Right.
But there were cases where back in the day, for example, I'm thinking what year, and I'm thinking I can't give the exact year. I'm very bad with years. I can't remember them, and it's so hard for me.
Don't worry
When
about it.
people
But
want
you
the
will be
exact year.
quoted.
If you remember, in the comments.
But I'm talking about
Yes.
20th century.
Please
Don't look it
correct.
up.
I'm talking about what was considered contemporary music in the early 20th century. There was John Cage, for example, let's say. What other composers, if they come to mind? There's just so many. But there were examples where in the middle of the performance, the orchestra, I know, for example, with the Louisville Symphony Orchestra, will be performing a brand new composed piece by some contemporary composer in the early 20th century. And the audience will start whistling and screaming and clapping and them
Oh,
and just
man.
wanting them to stop because they could not take this anymore. They were done.
Wow.
They could not want to listen.
When was this?
They didn't
you
want to
said?
listen anymore.
In
It's
the-
like early mid 20th century.
Was this in America? Or-
Yeah, Louisville Symphony Orchestra, for example, was
Oh,
one
right.
of those. They commissioned a
Well, I didn't know if you
lot of
meant
new
Louisville,
works.
England.
Yeah, Louisville, the Louisville Symphony Orchestra was one of the first symphony orchestras that started commissioning a lot of what was considered back then contemporary
Yeah.
music,
Huh.
and it was very interesting. There are videos on YouTube, actually,
Do you
that
thi-
you can go and see.
Do you guys think that the older that our popular music gets, the more and more like rigid and like still people will be when they listen to it? Like, like 70, 80 years from now, somebody will be like, today we will be performing the classical piece September by Earth, Wind and Fire, and everybody will just go like snap, snap, and on stage they'll be like, and then it'll all get done, and they'll go like,
No, but you can't clap because then you have to go into.
oh. Yeah,
Can't clap because we
Have
need
to go into
finish
Boogie
the
Wonderland.
full act.
yeah. Yeah, you think like the further and further away that people get from that music.
No.
That'd be so funny. Tonight we'll be performing Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
And you cannot clap.
Yeah. People are like, oh, I love this classical.
You cannot.
Whatever.
Funny
God, I
little
hope so.
world.
I think that would be so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, it's funny. It's like as much as we talk about. Stop screwing with this cord. Something's gonna break. Cool. As much as we talk about like, for lack of a much better term, performance practice. I mean, there's really like an audience practice. It's just nobody talks about it, and you're made to feel stupid if you don't know it.
It's like the old school way of you just vibe people.
Yeah, right.
Off the bandstand, you vibe them out of the hall.
Right. You do like well, this brings up something else too, because even in jazz, like there's all these random stories about some famous jazz person getting pissed at somebody yelling, and so they stop the performance and they scream at him for a sec. They throw something at him and then they go back, or they just walk off stage and everybody else is angry.
Kick them off the bus.
Right.
I've seen people getting upset at the. I've been to a lot of Garrett's jazz gigs, and some people will get upset if other people don't clap after a solo.
Oh,
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't appreciate.
See, yeah,
this
that's another
great
thing.
Solo
It's like
now?
that used to be a thing. If you dug the solo, you clap.
Yeah.
Now it becomes a thing. After every solo, you have to clap.
Well, that probably becomes from like it's literally a performance practice thing
Right.
for the audience. It's like now that jazz has largely moved into schools, as far as that's the first time people are experiencing the music
Right.
regularly, that becomes then their teachers lean over and go, "All right, ready, clap," and you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. I never even
Yeah.
thought about that.
Yeah, because it comes from like, I don't know. You just learn that in academia, and it becomes this.
So
Becomes
then
a
one day, and 80 years from now, in somebody's commercial funk class, 70s, 80s pop class, when they're talking about,
Ambrosia.
Yeah.
And,
Right. Oh, man. That's so crazy.
I don't know why that was first.
Yeah, I was like,
Agree.
wow, that was really specific.
Let me think of another. Hold on.
All right.
James Brown.
Okay. Yeah.
If we could make that longer in editing.
Yeah, I'll take it out and then loop.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat. The relationship between audience is so funny. It's so, I appreciate people like, how there's like every like year and a half, it'll be like the tour will be like Bela Fleck, Edgar Meyer, and Yo-Yo Ma or something like that. I appreciate what they're doing because I feel like they kind of bring a modern audience into classical music, not just because they are, more relevant people than random person who won a violin competition that I've never heard of.
It's a problem having young people in the audience,
Oh, right.
and it happens often. I'll go to a symphony concert, I'll look around, and
Is the problem having or not having?
that's the problem. I look around and I'll see only white hair
Sure.
around,
Yeah.
Sure.
It's just, and these are the people who have the seasonal
Right.
tickets, seasonal,
Like
season tickets.
Yeah, like
season pass,
can't
or-
talk.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Season passes.
The season
I got a
passes.
season pass.
I got
Go
my
to the
season
orchestra.
pass for the orchestra.
They got a great roller coaster that takes you back to your car. At
We
the
go on
end.
the log
But-
flume, and then we watch.
But
Bach, and then
People are trying. There a lot of conductors. I am trying to be
I know,
so
I
serious.
know, I know. You're doing great. Keep going. Keep going.
A lot of conductors are trying so hard to fix this, and the programming has been changing a lot. They add more and more newer works, contemporary works, or works written by female composers that have gotten lost throughout the years, and now
Sure.
they're bringing them back to life. They're finding all these different ways to engage the audience, and there are a little bit more. The past like 2, 3, 5 years, there's been a little bit more young people going back. I feel like.
Yeah, and I
and-
saw it was like
yeah.
the UT. Not UT. It was like the Knoxville Symphony Orchestra, and they did like the Beatles, like with some cover
Well,
band.
every symphony, every
Well,
big
yeah,
symphony
I'm
orchestra
sure.
does their pops.
I'm sure,
yeah.
but I thought like, yeah, that's cool. You know what I mean?
People,
like,
people like.
and they
this,
had
people
like the
dig it.
conductor,
Yeah.
like the conductor was still on stage and stuff like that. So it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like totally, you know what I mean? So that was pretty cool. So would you rather them do something different than something like that? Because when my mom was in like the orchestral world, people talked like that about pops concerts. They'd be like, "Yeah, it's the pops."
Oh, a
concerts."
lot of the orchestra musicians hate the
yeah,
pop
they
concerts.
didn't really like it very
Yeah.
much. But
But just because again
which I get,
they
you
put
know.
it, you can, if you're gonna do a pops concert, you gotta do it in the pop style. You know what I mean? Like you can't have a pop concert or an R&B concert with the symphony and expect it to go like a symphony classical concert is gonna go.
Da, da, da,
Yeah, it's
da,
gonna
da,
be
da,
different.
da, da, da.
I mean, me and Garrett have this joke at home all the time
Yeah.
about a lot of, specifically, we've been checking
Careful.
out some. I mean, we've been seeing some videos and stuff of some classically trained musicians who are trying to do covers of pop songs
Oh,
and stuff, and it just sounds like Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto, but it's Ed Sheeran's
Right.
whatever song, and
Yeah.
it sounds weird.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like how much of a very specific form of art do you want to preserve? It's like what's really important to you. I remember I was listening to somebody. This was a long time ago, so it wouldn't even matter now. But it was somebody was talking to. It was like these two theater people, and they were talking about.
Don't say it like that.
Why?
That's
I'm
it.
just joking. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. What you want me to say? Like choir people?
No, just
No.
keep going. Keep going. Just
You guys know what I'm talking
No,
about.
I know.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
just, I'm just poking fun.
So, so it was these two people who were in a theater, and they were. One of them made the comment. They said, "Why can't I just sing?" I'm trying to think. I think it was a girl, and I think she was talking about like Whitney Houston or something like that. And she was like, "Why can't I just?" God. And she was like, "Why can't I sing Whitney Houston? Or why can't I sing this and just have good technique?" And then the other person was like, "I know, right? Blah, 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 whatever." And first of all, layer one, that's like saying like, why can't I just speak English to people who only speak Spanish? It's like, first of all, shut up because of that. It's very different,
Yeah.
different languages, things like that. But also, Whitney Houston's amazing. Also, you guys know what
Also,
I'm
good
saying.
music isn't defined by good technique.
Totally, absolutely, and good technique is extremely relative to it.
And
Oh,
define
totally, yeah.
good.
And to the person itself.
Totally, yeah. So it was just the same thing of like, to that person, the art of good singing has this one thing in it all the time. It has to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what makes it good or bad. And it's weird, but then I guess you kind of get into like policing people's art, and
Yeah.
it's like how much of that.
Sure, if that's what you want to do, I don't know.
Whatever. It's just disrespectful. I feel like it's disrespectful to a form of music that you don't understand. When
Right.
you have like
feel
people who are people making like classical covers or whatever of pop music is great. People making jazz covers of like old rock and roll songs is great. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's like,
absolutely.
It's like whatever. But
What I meant by saying earlier, what I meant was that if you present that I am going to make a classical cover of this and this pop song, of course I expect you're gonna use the expected classical
Sure, yeah.
traditional techniques.
yeah.
But when somebody's saying, I am a classical musician, but I'm gonna do this pop song and I'm gonna do it poppy and it's gonna be in the pop style, but then it still sounds classical,
Yeah.
then there's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't know if it's like. I always wonder, is it a lack of respect? It kind of triggers me a little bit when musicians in one genre like take a big old dump with a smile on their face on musicians of another genre. You know what I mean? I remember in school, I remember hearing musicians say like, people who mainly play jazz, they would say like, well, so and so, Aaron Spears has been playing with Usher for a while, and like, whatever, he's not even that good, blah blah blah. That's like, well, he's got the gig, and you.
First of all, no one has ever said that sentence in the history of
Well,
this
but
planet.
but I've heard, yeah, no, I know that, but I mean, like, people have made comments like that
Right,
about
I know
like
what you mean.
people who are just backing an artist, being
Right.
like, well, that guy's not even that good, and it's like, well, I mean, he's got the gig and you don't, so clearly something they're doing is better than what you're doing, or you
Right.
would have that gig, or whatever. time and place for sure, but
Right.
that whole concept really gets on my nerves, because it's just that's not what music is. It's not
Yeah.
what
No,
And I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, to add to that, I used to be a big hater of Travis Barker.
Who was that?
Growing up as a
Wait,
kid.
what?
Blink-182.
Blink-182
Oh,
drummer.
shit, yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying his name and everything is because I have learned that I'm a moron. And over the years,
God, what have I got
I'll
myself?
tag him in this so he sees this.
but no, I've it's just since coming up and I came up more classically trained, and I had very similar thoughts of I had like technique stuff, or there would be like whatever I don't know, whatever the thing would be. I can't remember exactly what I was saying it to because now I don't care.
Right.
But it's like he's killer. He's really good drummer. He's got great gigs. He's a great businessman. Totally. He's the whole thing. I totally respect him. But that was something back then that I was like, eh. And somebody would be like, who's your favorite drummer? And it would always be Travis Barker, because at the time, he was the dude.
Yeah.
He was like anybody. Like, if you would say, name one drummer, back in the 60s and 70s, it was like Buddy Rich. He was a household name. Now it's like, who's the drummer? It was Travis Barker then.
Yeah.
And I was always just like, ugh. But I've learned that I'm wrong.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I guess when I was a kid, it was like, people would be like, oh, you play bass? You like Flea, right? And I did like Flea. But I would say but Jocko, because I just felt cool saying that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like 15 and a nerd. That should have been stuffed in a locker for saying that. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't mind it. It's different when you're a kid, though, right? Because
Because I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, right. And kids are dumb. But
Oh.
Especially you.
How about your kid?
Especially you.
How about your kid?
No, my kid is a genius.
Mm.
Yeah, you hear that, Autumn? You're a little genius.
She's pretty smart.
She is smart.
She actually is very smart.
Yeah, I say kids are dumb not because I actually think kids are stupid. I say kids are dumb because I think it is an immature thing to just plainly state this very extreme opinion about something like a craft or something that's taken somebody like a billion hours. You know what I mean? To get together.
Which is basically what I did when I said all crowds make me want to vomit.
Right. Well, they haven't spent hours and hours of being
And
crowds.
Well, I know it wasn't.
I don't know why I'm defending you.
I don't.
Right
I'm not saying that.
You were wrong.
Like the same attitude of grouping something together.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But that was for the shock factor, obviously. But yeah.
But it is.
Also, I'm still in high school.
Also.
Oh my! Have I made a mistake?
You didn't react nearly as I thought you would
What?
earlier when I poo-pooed your double bass.
Who are
degree or
you?
whatever.
Oh, that's right. You did do that. I should have laughed at that harder. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
thank you.
This is what we do. Don't you watch our LARKasts?
I don't think she's made it this far in.
Yeah, I don't think anybody.
I usually skip.
I don't think anybody.
I mean, I think everybody's like, wow, this is like, wow, the first 30 minutes you got, maybe first 10 minutes you got me.
Super
Yeah,
strong.
I usually
And after
skip
that-
through them.
Man, I should make some coffee
Yeah, I
or
should
something.
Yeah.
do anything.
Probably go to
else.
bed.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Speaking of audiences and things like that. Is that better?
I guess not.
Well, we're gonna rock with it. I saw a show last night at the Big Potato, which is very exciting for me, because I've watched videos of that place for years, and it was just cool walking into it and seeing it. That crowd was really interesting because I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was under the impression that the Big Potato was just like I didn't know it was a venue. I thought it was literally a restaurant that
That serves baked
that
potatoes.
well, yeah, that.
do,
but,
though.
but also some really weird booker just books these crazy acts, and they've been on the verge of being fired so many times because they keep booking performance art at this restaurant that serves baked potatoes.
Yeah.
But it's actually a venue, which was really cool. But that place was interesting because that crowd was very different. It was a really quiet crowd, which I didn't expect. I guess I kind of thought I was expecting if it was going to be a venue, it would be like the place that's like, yeah, like we're all with our homies so we can like hoot and holler and like whatever. But it wasn't like that at all, which was interesting.
Well, I feel like you can't expect anything in LA.
Sure, maybe.
You don't know what to expect.
Oh, me personally, or you, the general you?
You, Josh, don't.
Royal
no,
you
no. I
or
feel
the-
like in general for people, it's very hard to expect. You can expect things, but you never know if they're actually going to happen or not. And this goes from all the way from traffic to music.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
it's pretty. Yeah, I think it's a good representation of this city.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you just never know. In my limited amount of time here, it's just been like just over 2 years, which is nothing. But still, it's been like
Well,
I can just never plan on anything.
even gigs are like that, right?
Gigs have been
That's
like
what
that.
That's what I've
just
heard from a lot of
interacting with
people.
humans. Maybe just because I've been like so tuned into that and so conscious of that. Maybe that's why I'm noticing it more.
Mhm.
Or maybe
But-
we're just thinking about it too much.
Maybe think about it too much.
Well, there's a mic in your hand. We gotta say
Maybe it's
something,
not.
So keep going. Just kidding.
Maybe it's not. Maybe I don't know.
But
But-
I mean, like, we were talking about this in the car. It's funny because I want to know if other big cities are like this. I know Atlanta's not like this, from what I experience. That 2 years later, you'll get a random call from somebody. Like, you got a call to go do this show, right? Like, where were you? I almost said Berlin. That's not it.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah, in
briefly
Portugal.
lived in
Portugal,
Germany.
right? So that person, that was kind of random, right? Or was it not? Am I just making that up?
Kinda. It made a little bit more sense than
Oh,
some of my
okay.
other ones, but
Gotcha.
yeah, but I mean, the whole situation of that was pretty random.
So
But,
crazy.
Yeah.
And Ty said that too.
Well, yeah.
He said this guy Ty Bailey. Look him up. Ty. I was gonna launch into this big thing, but from the dawn of time, Ty. No, I don't even know him. But yeah, Ty Bailey was saying the same thing. He was like, I moved here to. What did he say? He said I moved here to play jazz, organ, and then now he's with Katy Perry, which
Yeah.
is random. You know what I mean? But it was funny because in that conversation that we were having, they were talking about it as it was like an LA specific thing. So I was trying to ask them what
Yeah.
makes LA more random than other towns, but it kind of just got breezed by.
I've heard a zillion people that I've talked to here all tell me this tell me the same thing of man, it's so weird. You'll get a call from somebody that you thought you played 2 or 3 gigs 4 years ago with. You thought that was the end of it.
Yeah.
You were just done playing with them. And all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, I got this tour.
Let's do this.
Let's
thing,
do this thing." Or I
whatever.
recommended you to this act or whatever, or this
So
or
weird.
hey, let's start just playing again.
That's
you
so
know.
weird.
Because there's just so many of us here. There's so many people in this stupid city.
Yeah.
I love the city, but there's so many of us. You never know. You never know who's gonna see you, who's gonna hear you, who's gonna notice you, who's gonna say something, who's not gonna say something. Somebody might remember that you exist 4 years after they see you,
Yeah.
or they might remember tomorrow. You just don't know. And there's so much happening at the same time. All
Yeah,
the time.
It's funny though, because the city doesn't feel like New York or Atlanta to me.
You definitely. I mean, it's LA is like this, and New York is.
That's a good point.
There's a lot more real estate out here.
Sure.
Just in terms of it's just
That
so
makes
spread
sense.
out.
Yeah.
Because where we live is, we live up in the valley, and that's very neighborhoody, very
But there's still a lot going on because
There's
there's places
still
like
stuff.
the Baked Potato.
sure.
Which is kind of
But that's
funny.
yeah. But if you want the city thing, you go downtown or you go
Right.
to Hollywood. But everything's so spread out. I don't know. It feels it doesn't feel like you're trapped in something. You can
Yeah.
get out.
Right.
Yeah.
But I wonder if getting gigs makes more sense in those other cities.
I don't know.
Maybe there aren't as many random calls.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's just literally that much work out here.
Yeah.
that eventually something is just gonna fall on you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what that guy said to me. That Scott Mayo
Yeah.
said to me. He said there's room for everybody out here.
Yeah.
Which blew my mind.
I do know something in LA, it's very hard to there's this thing where people there's this thing I've heard where it's if you're dating in LA or you want to date somebody in LA and you're talking to them and they say Obviously, I don't know anything about this.
Well, I will never know
I've only-
for the rest of my life anything about dating.
Okay, cool. So she's more mad about that than
Apparently.
Okay, cool. We're good. Anyway, but like people will, they'll find out what part of they'll find out which part of town you live in, and if you live, you know, in a different part of town or whatever, it's almost a lot of times it's like a deal breaker, just because traffic is so unpredictable. It's really hard to get over there. And I could imagine maybe that's the same way in New York, because I feel like it's harder to get around in New York than it is here.
Yeah.
In terms of gigs. So I wonder if you like find your dudes where you live in a similar part of town. It's like you always just play with those guys because, hey, this dude's got a rehearsal space over here.
Sure, yeah.
Let's just do that because I do not want to go sit on a train, carry my amp and guitar or whatever for like an hour just to go to rehearsal.
Yeah.
You know.
We should get Mike Baguette on.
Oh, he's gonna be here on Sunday, by the way. That's what
we were just texting about. Yeah,
okay, cool. Yeah, I was gonna tell you.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to say what you said earlier about. What did you say earlier?
Crowds.
Crowds, or I was talking about randomness.
No, about people and how there are so many opportunities here.
Oh, right.
And things to do.
Yeah. Somebody had told me
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
but I feel like I've always been this type of person that I think there is a place for everybody everywhere. It just really depends how you're gonna make it for yourself.
Except Knoxville.
No.
Okay,
see,
Josh is just bitter. He's still bitter about Knoxville.
I spent 6 years of my life in Knoxville, and I have absolutely nothing bad to say about this city and town.
Well, Josh grew up there, so
That's right. Well,
you have some hometown hatred.
Yeah.
well, I have no hometown.
And you've only been here
hatred my
for
hometown.
2 months?
Mhm.
2 months?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And LARKAST number
But
20 will talk.
but
Yeah.
okay.
That's good.
Were you ever out of gigs and out of opportunities? I mean, no, maybe not as big as you might want them to be, but you were not completely out of opportunities and gigs there.
Well, but there was like a cap, right? Because
Because
when I moved there, I didn't go to UT, so I didn't have that, right? And so for somebody to call me, they would have to decide not to call one of their dudes from
But they
from the
called
school
you.
they went to. Well, but that took a long time.
Well,
You know what I mean? And when I got to the point where I was being called, there was always going to be a better upright player than I was. And they had more gigs because there's more upright gigs in.
and that's okay, but you were doing something else.
No, I know that, but my experience in Knoxville, which this actually doesn't contribute to my
Hatred.
current dislike of hatred of the city Knoxville. It doesn't contribute. This actually doesn't contribute to this, but the business is small enough there that while I almost never really ended up having like bad gigs, like gigs where I was just like, oh man, I really crapped that one. Like that didn't really happen to me in Knoxville, but I knew the gigs that I was probably going to get called for and the gigs I was not probably going to get called for. There's way more gigs I was probably not going to get called for. Now I think that also has to do with like, one, I don't play upright, but then also kind of like the way that I play. You know what I mean? Like, and this is not Knoxville's fault. Like, UT feeds Knoxville's scene, right?
Definitely.
So then people want that sound. I just didn't sound like that, and I didn't really want to. You know what I mean? It was like I think I probably absorbed like 30% of that sound by the end of me being there, but I just didn't sound like that. So that was probably another little part of it. But also, I just didn't have the time that everybody else had with each other. You know what I mean? Like most of my gigs were through like church and at least that's where it started.
Well, there's a lot of gigs here. I mean, going to a college in a town you want to work in is actually pretty beneficial because there's like a lot of
connections.
A lot of USC dudes that I know. There's a lot of that's kind of the big one. There's UCLA people,
I know
but like
what you're
USC,
saying now.
there's like a ton of people that come out of there that are just bros and they hang out and they play gigs together all the time.
And that's cool. Like I'm to the point now, honestly, where like I think I've said this before on one of these LARKasts, where I would hire the boys before I would hire somebody who's like way better than the
Yeah,
which
that's just
you
the way
know,
it goes.
To be fair, most of my colleagues are up here now. They're not down here, but
Yeah.
but like
You've been through the mud together. You've been
yeah,
through it,
yeah. Like I'm down with that, and that's what I'm saying. Like that whole thing doesn't contribute to my hatred of Knoxville, my current
Right.
hatred of Knoxville. But it was definitely a thing there.
Oh, I can't listen about hatred of Knoxville. This is my American home.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Mine too.
Yeah, me
Join-
too. Whoa.
Join me. Join me.
The dark
Love
side.
Knox.
yeah.
Oh, we were gonna speak about canon, Star Wars, canon.
Oh yeah.
on
I'm
this podcast,
I'm down with that.
and to have Ina in.
Talk
Talk about
how
Star
do you
Wars.
feel about?
Oh, we have a
The
good
Force.
family
What were we
story.
talking about today? What's that dude's name?
I'm saying the
Thrawn.
family
Thrawn.
story.
We're talking about Thrawn.
Yeah.
I'm saying the Tillman, the Karshava Tillman family story.
All right, let's hear it.
I grew up.
Listening to crowds.
No,
We gotta tie this in to crowd talk.
We don't have to.
I grew up listening
It's
to
a rule.
gypsy music.
It says it
I
right here on this
grew
piece
up
of paper.
hating Star Wars.
Yeah?
Yep, one of my best friends
Wow.
from my childhood loved it, and she tried.
What's her name?
Raya.
Oh, I know her.
Right.
You know what, Raya, which basically means heaven. Anyway,
Oh, I thought you
she
were gonna say something else.
tried to introduce me to the movies many times, and many times I fell asleep.
So we're actually talking about Star Wars now. That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Okay. All
but
We're
when
almost
I
at an
started,
hour. So
when I
nobody's
started,
listening.
we're almost done. But when I started,
right. This is Ina's first. Listen, the funny thing is, before this podcast started, Ina was like, she was very excited, which is cool.
well,
I'm glad you were excited.
I want to tell my story.
All right, sorry.
So, she would make me fall asleep at Star Wars movies. Oh, what? She would make me watch Star Wars movies,
Make you fall asleep.
and I would fall asleep every time.
It's like there's the scroll, the scroll, and
Yeah.
she's like, sleep. Close your eyes. Close them. Keep them closed.
But she would get
She would
super.
just watch
She
them.
would get upset, and she would be like,
It's a
"I
dark
can't
time
believe
for
you
the
fell
Senate.
asleep."
They're going- The Galactic Republic is falling. And
Yeah, seriously, I will fall asleep within the first 15 minutes.
Well, that just means you're like a mom already.
I
That's what
yeah,
that
like
means.
I'm an old person.
Do you fall asleep at movie theaters?
No, I never. Just one time with Gareth in Chicago.
You fell
Oh,
asleep.
that was a
That's
rough day.
another family.
That's a long day.
story.
You fell asleep in the movie Chicago or in the city Chicago?
In the city.
In the city, Chicago, we
Watch
fell asleep in
World
the movie
War
theater.
Z. That's another story.
World War Z, yeah, that
Maybe
movie
I'll tell it after.
That's a
Can
pretty
I
bad
say the
movie.
first story?
Oh yeah.
So my friend will get
So
upset
crowds.
with me that I'm falling asleep with these movies, blah blah blah. Anyway, I continued hating it. She never convinced me that I should love them. And then years later, I start dating this thing.
Me.
And he makes me.
Beep, boop, beep, beep, beep.
He says, "Oh, I'm a big Star Wars fan." I was like, "Oh, freaking crap!" So he made me watch all of them, and in like 4 days or something.
That's
Like
not bad.
One
Wait.
time we watched
No,
two. Well, one time we watched 2 movies in one day. You made me, and at home we have a little Chewie stuffed Chewie. We have you have the lightsaber. We have a poster in the bedroom. We have all of these little accessories.
I
All
can
of
go
that.
get it.
All of your love for Star Wars, where something broke in me, and I started liking it.
All right.
So
What
I've
was it?
seen them all.
What was it?
I'm completely caught up with. Maybe the fact that I
What did you
just
like?
had to date him. I don't know. And
So
I
fine, dude. You can't resist.
What I really wish she was just
I was
like,
with the resistance.
she was just like, oh, you know what? Just the Last Jedi. It just really got me.
Oh.
Oh,
That
I
was so
That's
funny.
the day that I signed the divorce papers.
That was
I
so funny.
don't even know the names of. I keep calling them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I cannot
That's
remember
fine.
the names.
You remember the names? Come on. What's episode 4?
I don't even
Star
know.
Wars and the
You
Two
know.
Towers.
Are you about to say no?
Probably not.
Star
Okay,
Wars
number
and
4.
the Two Towers.
That's two. That's two movies.
Star Wars and the
Never forget.
half-blooded prince.
Star Wars and the
Ida,
Two Towers.
what
Never
is
forget.
today? Today's the 13th.
Star
That
Wars.
was 2 days ago.
Star Wars
How'd you mix that
and
up?
the half-blooded prince.
I like this. Keep it going.
Star Wars and the Deadly Hollows.
Oh, okay.
Although, to be fair, she was mixing it with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Lord of the
The
Rings.
Two Towers. Not.
Yeah.
not
Lord of the
9/11.
Rings.
I know, I'm just kidding, I'm just
100% Lord of the Rings.
I
I was a Lord of the Rings fan way before.
Hold on.
Garrett introduced me to Star Wars. I mean, I was introduced to Star Wars. I didn't like it.
Episode 4. The OG. What is it called?
Is it Phantom Menace?
You are not serious.
Listen. I promise you.
Think about it. You know all the names, you just don't know where they go.
Yeah.
Think
yeah,
about
that's
it.
what it
Which
is.
one?
Think about
I don't know.
when you're first introduced to Luke.
My head
What is
hurts.
that?
Yeah. Well, it's probably.
Phantom Man. What's Phantom in that?
The
Phantom Man.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
In my mind, it just went
Star
Wars
Wars
4,
and the Phantom of
Man.
the Opera.
It's not Jedi. It's
No.
It's not Empire.
Doesn't
it's-
matter.
Get
Because there's
closer.
a bunch of new movies that are not good.
You know this.
It's not Revenge of the Sith. It's not.
You're saying them backwards.
Keep
What?
going.
You started at
Eventually
6,
you'll
and then you
get
said
it.
5, and then you went to 3.
So what broke you with Star Wars? And here's why I'm asking. Because one thing, I'm not doing this on purpose. One thing that it's interesting to me when somebody finally comes around to something.
Oh, how they got around something?
Yeah, I think that's weird. People
I don't
musicians
have an
do that a
answer.
lot, right? Like
I don't know if I don't have an answer. I
you just like watched it so much that you're like, fine.
I mean, he made me watch them. I was like, okay, fine. I'll
Okay.
watch it because I respect you and I like you and I'm starting to love you. Back then,
Don't be
So-
afraid to say that.
no,
stuff.
I was.
It's
no,
good
say-
for me to hear it.
You can
No,
say
no,
the
no.
L word.
I was really trying to be.
Gross. I'm editing this out.
I was just trying to be nice and polite, and I'm also a person that gives this chance to a lot of things. And I was like,
Except for crowds.
okay, let's try. Let's try again. Let's see. Maybe this time I'll like something, and I liked something.
And I did the same with The Office for you.
Oh, I love this show.
See, now that's all she talks
And
about.
Breaking Bad. Oh,
You
I
did-
love
And
this
Breaking Bad.
Wait, you didn't like The Office?
Well, me
She
and
was like,
Garrett.
I kept trying to get her to watch it. She was like, ugh, I don't know the characters, and I don't want to. I was like, that's why you watch it from the beginning.
I think
and
that's
you learn
our
to love them.
thing. I think
That's
that's
true.
our thing as a couple. You know, everybody has. We have this thing. There's some things
That
that
you're so resistant for new
I'm
TV
not
shows
resistant.
and
I'm
movies.
always willing to give it a
When
try.
I'm showing you greatness.
I'm always willing to give it a try because there is a lot of things that I've decided. For some reason, I just really don't like this. But then you sometimes are very good at bringing good points about stuff when I've already made my mind that I don't like something, and then I am thinking, oh, that's a good point. So let's give it a try. And most of the times it works.
Every single.
And
What's
I-
what is
Time.
what is
no,
mine and Hannah's
I do not
thing?
like Parks and Recreation.
You have not given that a chance yet, because
I've
that's
three
exactly what I
times.
was about
That
to
show-
say.
that show
we
is
started
great.
it.
I
tried
gave
to get
this
her-
show 3 chances.
3
I still
chances,
don't
meaning
like.
Skip-
3 episodes.
No.
Skip to the second season.
In 3
we
different
did.
years.
I did first season, second season, third season, all back to back.
I think the first season is the weakest one. I would
Yes,
just say
same.
skip to the second season.
I
You still gotta watch it for the story, but
Yeah, but
come on.
that kind of story doesn't.
I don't know.
There's a lot of things
There's
they refer
too
back
many
to. It's not like one
characters.
of those where you reset every.
There's
I guess,
too
every
many
episode.
characters in this show. They're
Is
they're
there?
too much for me. I
What?
don't
What are you
like.
talking
There's
about?
not more than The Office, though.
Yeah.
The Office is classic, and
The Office will never die.
The Office is something special.
These shows were happening at the same time.
Yeah, which is like I don't know.
What if I had
Parks
showed
and
you
Rec-
Parks and Recs for Parks?
Which
and
one
Rec
is first? The Office is first. Everybody knows that.
Actually, I think that started first.
Well,
So,
yeah, because it started with
Parks
the
and
British
Rec,
version.
it just makes me think that
Well, no, I mean that's
Oh.
not or just the American one.
I feel like Parks and Rec is just trying to do some of the things that happened in The Office. It's like the same.
I think it started.
thing.
It started that way.
Yeah,
but I
it's
don't
definitely
like
not.
this. See, I already watched The Office. I love The Office. So
So
I
here's
want
more of The
something
Office.
different. No. The Office is its own thing. Now I want something that's different. But that's me. You know, that's how my brain works. That's how my personality works. It's okay. It's okay. Other people can love it. I don't have to love it. It's okay.
Does she have to love it?
Yes.
Oh well,
No.
shoot.
No. I'm just trying to build tension and make
Try
this
to-
interesting.
try to tell
Please
a story,
watch.
Try to tell a story.
Please watch our podcast.
Maybe my second husband is somewhere out there.
Oh,
Call me.
jeez. Um.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Can we do a podcast where we are slightly tipsy or drunk and we tell stories like what you said like drunk history.
Well, that would be like a copyright deal.
It's
Yeah,
a
just do
copyright
your
deal.
own podcast.
Okay, so
Drunk
but
herstory.
I can tell stories from Bulgaria.
I don't think anyone wants to hear that.
What does that mean? How are those different than what we're doing now?
It's
Fine.
in Bulgarian.
The
Oh.
funny.
All right, I'll tell you what. Tell.
Funny.
Are we done? Can we do the
That's much
ending?
different. That's good.
All right, just tell.
Oh.
Yeah, let's do the ending.
Okay.
You start.
Aaron, go.
And
Sorry, Aaron, go.
This is it.
I thought you said we had an ending.
I thought that you were gonna take the lead to do it.
Well, I don't think we have an ending.
Okay, this is the ending.